Hey, what's up, YouTube? Welcome to Play It Painted Live. Sorry for the late start. Having some issues. Well, lots of different issues. They're all small, though, but was able to take care of that in the 5 minutes that we were late here. So, anyway, hold on. Let me take a drink of this. So, anyway, we're just getting set up. I'm going to go ahead and put on the YouTube feed so that we can see what's going on. And then on my phone here, I'm going to open up Twitter because apparently I think I can track comments on Twitter. So let's open up Twitter, see what we get here. Wow, I'm not getting, well, one of the things I can do is I can charge my phone while this is all going on. So anyway, yeah, I had to put my kid sleep. Didn't quite get there, but I got him hopefully tired enough to where mom can finish the job there. Then I had to do so a little cleanup around the house, and now I'm getting set up to paint. So that's what we're looking at right now. I want to thank you guys for joining. Welcome to Play It Painted Live. Tonight, as you can see, the topic, we're going to get into that in a little bit. But for now, let me load up Q&A. And let me show you what we're going to be painting tonight. So tonight, we're going to be painting some Anima Tactics. This is Kujaku Hime from Anima Tactics. A very cool model. Holy crap, I love this model. I may not even finish it tonight because it's just a gorgeous model. It's beautiful. Anyway, so we'll get set up to do that. I've got my little palette off screen here. Let me see if I can actually just turn this way. Get my camera angled right. There we go. I might actually bring it in a little bit once we get to the painting part. Here we go. And want to welcome our viewer to Play It Painted Live. Thanks for tuning in as I am getting set up here. So I'm going to put a little water on my palette, and we're gonna get to it. There's really nothing to airbrush right now, so right now I'm going to paint the eyes while we're just doing our little pre-show talk here, even though the show's 5 minutes running. We're going to do this. This is a little bit of, this is some fine work here, so this might not happen on camera. If not, I apologize for that. But once again, I am painting some Anima Tactics tonight. That would be cool. I've been, I've still been collecting Anima Tactics. I know you guys might not have seen a lot of Anima Tactics events posted or anything like that. I think it's been a while since I posted a bat rep for AT on this channel, but let me just assure you, I still really like the game. I think it's a good game with some fantastic miniatures, and really what got me into AT was the miniatures, and I think that's what's going to keep me going. I'm just going to keep enjoying painting miniatures, the AT Cypher Studios miniatures, because they're just so good. But anyway, let me get this started. Once again, welcome to Play It Painted Live. Now, like I was saying before, we're going to try to get a little bit more conversation going during this show. And one of the viewers pointed out to me that, hey, one of the things you can do is open up your Twitter feed and read some comments that way. And, hopefully it'll be a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? It might be a little bit more interactive than just trying to load those YouTube comments. Because I know that from experience, the YouTube comments that come in are awesome. And, I want to thank you guys for commenting on the show. But I'm always late getting to them. There's some lag or some delay, and I end up getting to those comments late, and sometimes they hit and they're not exactly relevant to the topic that we're getting at. So based on that delay, I can see it can probably be a little bit frustrating for some of the folks that are viewing. And I do apologize for that. But yeah, so we're going to try to improve that with our Twitter feed. So if you want to send me any comments directly through Twitter, you can just go to @PlayItPainted on Twitter and send me a tweet. And hopefully I can respond to it live here on the show. Okay, so Kujaku Hime, I don't have my AT book handy, so I am not going to be following the studio scheme on this. It's just such a gorgeous model. It really is. So I'm going to paint in the eyes real quick while we're just getting started here on the show. Once again, welcome to Play It Painted Live. I could have painted Arena Rex tonight, or I could have painted, I have some Infinity. I've got another Infinity commission in. It's a short one, just a couple of models. But I could have been painting that too. But tonight, no, we're gonna paint some AT, because AT stuff it's still my favorite line to paint. It's still the most fun for me to paint. It is Animattack. I think it's the theme, the art, and the sculpts are just fantastic. This has got to be one of my favorite miniatures in the entire range. Kujaku Hime, she's a wanderer. And I'll just tell you guys right now, one of the things that we're looking at doing is kind of a Valentine's Day themed event for Animattactics, which is interesting because in Animattactics, characters fluff, there are some characters, some famous pairs in Animattactics. They're team pairs, and you can actually get bonuses for fielding them. Good evening, David from Virginia. Thanks for joining. I know it's quite late out there, but always appreciate you coming down to watch the show. So let me check YouTube comments while we're here. So I'm just doing the eyes, and I think by now, if you've watched any bit of this channel, you kind of know how I do eyes. I actually do them first. They're one of the very first parts of the model that are done. And I start by painting the whole orbit in black here. Then I'm going to come in with some white and paint the white. Okay, Animattactics, one of my favorite lines to paint. Yes, and I actually had just finished saying that, David. This is still my favorite miniature line to paint, and it's what drew me over to Cypher and becoming a free agent to begin with, was just how much I really like the Animattactics line, and why I have so many. I have a lot of Animattactics, and I don't play the game as often as, say, some of the other games that I'm into, like Eldorado, or most recently Relic Knights. So much Relic Knights. It's not embarrassing, because I love that game. But that's part of the topic tonight. Is we're going to be talking. I'll be giving a my own opinion, comparing and contrasting the two games that right now are heavy on the radar for me personally. Obviously, Relic Knights, and very, very recently, a little sci-fi game called Infinity by Corvus Belli. So that's going to be the topic for tonight. We'll see if I was going to have possibly another person join me, but we'll see if he can make that happen from a technology standpoint or not tonight. If not, it's okay. I can fly solo. Now, last week, I got to apologize a little bit, because last week, that second hour of the show was just grueling. I mean, it was the first week back, and I got super tired, and I started to mumble and ramble a bit in that second hour. So, I hope you guys, at least hopefully, you got a little bit of a laugh out of that. I watched some of it after the fact and noticed that I had lost some coherency in that going into that second hour. So pretty funny. Oops. Yeah. Kujaku Hime. Such a cool character full model. Just absolutely stunning. I don't know if you guys, any of you guys watched, are watching some of my updates that I post every, I want to say every 2 to 3 days on this channel. I've been posting updates, if not more frequently than that, as part of the various YouTube community challenges that happen online. So you can see that, you know, you can see the other projects that I was working on, like Robotech RPG Tactics, or I did another Anima Tactics miniature a few days ago, which I thought was pretty cool. Little anime reference there. Little Sword Art Online character that reminded me of Sinet Anima Tactics, so that was cool. All right. So I'm just dotting in the eyes right now. Basically just drawing in the little slash. Now, once I start going on the flesh, I'm going to put this model on my little handy grip, and I can actually start to paint it properly. But when I'm in this close to an eyes, you know, I've got to hold it with my hand. I've got to bring it in close like this. So if you're just tuning in, once again, welcome to Play It Painted Live. If you follow me on Twitter at Play It Painted, you can post some comments that I'll be watching my Twitter feed, and I can respond to those. Hopefully, what we're trying to do is we're trying to increase the interactivity with our viewers. So, you know, for example, you know, some viewers like David can hop on G Plus and comment, and you know, those are pretty quick. Those show up pretty quickly. They're fairly live. You could show up on my YouTube channel under Play It Painted and post under this live feed, but it also, there's a little bit of a delay there. So just forewarned. So that's why we're trying the Twitter thing. And Twitter's kind of cool too. If you follow me on Twitter, I post, Twitter mirrors my Instagram. And on my Instagram, I post a lot of pics that you may not necessarily see on the Play It Painted Facebook page or any of the other social media that I partake in. So you can see some other stuff. You can see stuff like my little kid. You can see some photos of my wife. You can see some updates, some work in progress stuff, which I don't post a lot of work in progress stuff in general. But if you want to see some work in progress stuff, the Instagram and definitely the Twitter are the Twitter. See how old I am? Those are places that you can find out a little bit more about what's going on with me on a more, I guess, updated basis. Couple of comments in from YouTube. Troy Perez, don't want to derail your topic, but Cthulhu Wars is shipping. Should get my copy tomorrow. Look forward to playing the hell out of that game. I like a Cthulhu theme as much as the next guy. That sounds interesting. I don't really know anything about that game, but I'm excited for you. Thanks for the comment, Troy. Minutes on the Sun. What's up, man? Hey, bro, I'm sculpting with you tonight. Nice, dude. Well, if you want to talk some Infinity Relic Knights, I don't know if you have experience with either game. That's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Let me know, and I'll shoot you a little invite to the show. If not, it's cool. Go ahead and sculpt. I saw your recent video, and once again, my comment's the same. Need more videos from you. But yeah, always cool to see what you're up to, man. And your bolt action stuff is looking pretty awesome. You guys on the bolt action side make it very difficult for me not to want to pick up. If I play bolt action, I definitely want to play Japanese in that game. So I don't know. Any World War II I love playing the Japanese. If I have to play the European campaign, I would want to play something silly like I'd want to be French, or one of the smaller, maybe even smaller powers on that side. So, and be forewarned, I'm kind of taking my time on this model. I'm not going as fast as I normally would be, because I don't know. It doesn't. This model is not a high priority for me, but if I get her finished tonight, great. If not, not a big deal. That's somewhat atypical of what we do here. I tend to finish the model that I'm working on, but it's not always the case. So I got derailed. Here's what I was talking about with regards to anima tactics. So one of the ideas we had was, what if we did kind of a free-for-all style battle where players could only bring pairs from the game, duos from the game. Duos in terms of, either having a team card available to them, or being a famous couple from anima tactics, or somehow being related. So perfect example, that would be this model that I'm painting right now, Kujaku Hime, who has an in-game boyfriend, and yes, you can field them in a pair. And if you field them as a pair, you can buy a team card upgrade that gives them additional abilities when they're both on the field, or sometimes when one dies, the other partner gets different bonuses, stuff like that. So anyway, looks like I have a comment here. Oh, dude, if you play bolt action Japanese, I'll get my Finnish army going. See, this is a problem. We like so many games, and eventually we'll play them all. But yeah. So anyway, back to anima tactics. You could field her and her boyfriend. Another one is Sinette and Drake, and I like that combo. That's a very Sword Art Online combo. So I made you. So I already painted Sinette like Asuna from that game. And now I picked up the Drake model yesterday, and obviously I'm going to paint him like the Kirito, the male lead of Sword Art Online. So it'll just be my little nod to that anime, despite how you may feel about that anime, if you like it or not like it. The characters are fairly recognizable, and that it is a fairly popular anime. They're fun style, so I will be painting that. So a couple other things you could field. Damien and Justina from the Church faction. That's a famous pair from anima tactics. You could even field like Saint Council if you wanted to. You'd probably get destroyed because both of them are support characters. But, that's what we're talking about. Famous pairs in the game. Like if you want, okay, you could even play, say, Xavier and Nero, because they're brothers, but they're while Xavier hates Nero thinks Xavier's kind of cool. So that was the idea. It's like what pair, if we did a free for all, and each player showed up and they brought their own pair of anima tactics characters, who would win that battle? Macbeth and Lily and Virgil. That their team name is Weapon of Azrael. That's a strong one. But we were, I was even thinking you could do pairs that aren't blatantly obvious in that game. Like you could do Reinhold and his daughter. Shoot, I forget her name, but he has a daughter. He's in Azure Alliance, and I believe Reinhold's daughter is in Church. But, you could do stuff like that, and that would be kind of cool because it's just a thematic, fun game, and, why not play it that way? So, anyway, once again, I want to welcome everyone to Play It Painted Live. Let us know what you're painting or what you're working on. Sounds like Jonathan, Minutes on the Sun there, is doing some sculpting, which is always really cool. Always look forward to seeing his stuff. And one day, I think I might be cool enough for him to sculpt something, and then I'd paint it on this this channel, because I think that would be awesome. Just saying. I think that would be cool if we did something like that. But so yeah, that's part of the reason why I'm painting this miniature. The main reason, though, like David and I were talking about, I just love these sculpts. I love this line. I will continue to buy this line, and I'll continue to play it. Obviously, not a big following for Anima Tactics locally, but we've got enough people, and I've got enough miniatures so that if anyone wanted to get in a game with me, I'll always have enough for at least 2 people, if not 4 to 6 people to play a game. So yeah, okay. So now I'm just doing this is really just the undercoat of the flesh, and I'm going with my standard game color heavy skin tone. This is from the Extra Opaque line, and if you guys haven't heard me talk about game color Extra Opaque, it is their high-hide line, and they're good paints. Especially, this is my favorite from the whole line. This deep skin undertone, because this is how I frame all the Caucasian and Asian, the light fleshes from this line. So I'm just gonna paint in the flesh parts, and then we're gonna start to blend some color into this. All right. Okay. And let me load YouTube comments real quick. Just check those. Once again, welcome to Play It Painted Live. Let us know what you're painting, what you should be painting, or if you want to make some live comments, I suggest following me on Twitter at Play It Painted, and we'll take it from there. Okay, so it looks like we're okay on comments for the time being. And so I think we're ready. I'm just going to start. I'm going to launch into tonight's topic, which is Relic Knights versus Infinity. Now, before we get going here, I want to make a couple of disclaimers just so that we all know what's going on here. None of these should really be a surprise to any of you guys. First off, I am a ninja. I am a ninja core for Ninja Division, Soda Pop Miniatures, Cypher Studios. That's why you always see those games and those miniature lines featured very heavily on this channel. I will make no excuses about that. I certainly will have some bias here as I compare these two systems. In addition to that, I will point out that I've had, at this time of this recording, I want 3, maybe 4 games of Infinity under my belt. I have not... we have not played any of the specialized scenarios yet. And in fact, I haven't even played, the recommended size game yet. I have not played a 300-point game of Infinity yet. So if you want my honest opinion, this topic may be a bit premature for me. I might be jumping the gun here. We might want to talk again in about a month's time when I've had a little bit more time to explore the Infinity game. That said, I will include another disclaimer here that says that I do like both games. At the end of the day, I do like both games. And in fact, I'm hoping that my little talk here will demonstrate my opinion, which is that both of these games can coexist, and these games can actually coexist quite well for one another. They can be great games to enjoy in each of their own right. I am going to be talking about some things for both games that I think would be cool if they were looked at or improved, or maybe they're good not to be improved. Maybe it's just part of that game's identity that we accept, because we don't really. I don't know. I don't. While I like to see games get better over time, I don't feel it's my place to really rip out a game's heart and start over with it, especially not games that have a loyal following. I think that's a mistake when companies do that, when they change too much at once, or especially, for my pet peeve, if they start to change critical things like fluff or theme or anything like that. If the art direction takes a sharp turn, or if the differences in the sculpts take a sharp turn, that can be a huge turnoff for me. But anyway, I digress. Okay, let's see. Another comment here from David. Currently painting Fiora, Protector of the Flame for War Machine, Samuel the Black Lion for Anima Tactics, and Soviets for Bolt Action. So, nice spread of games there, David. I did not know you were a Warmahordes player. It's interesting. Samuel is another model that I had and I gave away. I regret that. I should probably have kept him and painted him myself, but I know I'm going to get the opportunity to paint that model at some point. Let me refresh comments on YouTube. No comments on YouTube. I don't know if, honestly, I don't know if I'm actually seeing my live Twitter feed here, or if I'm doing it wrong. Who knows? Let's see. No. I do not have any. As far as I know, I don't have any comments from Twitter yet. So, okay. All right. So, yes, I do like both games. I do feel that both games have a place in one person's collection, and that you can enjoy both, because at the end of the day, I feel that that each of those games comes from a very different place. And the way I want to put this is the parts of the brain that are tickled when playing either game are very different parts. The parts of the strategy and your approach to playing a tabletop game, these are going to highlight different areas when you're playing one or both of these games. All right. So anyway, let's put this into a little bit of relevance in that, as far as what happened last night. So last night, I played 2 games. I played a game of Relic Knights early on, and then I played a game of Infinity right after. And previous to that, Jose and I played a game of Infinity over the weekend. So, but anyway, so Relic Knights, I played a 50-point game with Gareth. He was using Shattered Sword, and I was using my Cersei Speed Circuit. And we played the game. The interesting thing is we decided to play the game because we were kind of waiting around for a couple of games around us to end. But we both knew, both of us being, pretty veteran Relic Knights players at this point, we both knew that we could get in a full game of Relic Knights, start to finish, including setup, and be done by the time these guys were wrapping up their smaller Infinity games. Now, that's not really a statement about Infinity. That's actually more about the fact that most of the guys that we're playing with right now are all in learning mode. So games of Infinity are taking longer. It will be interesting to see how the game paces when we know what we're doing, or at least when we get closer to knowing what we're doing. I'm wondering if the games get faster, or if they stay the same length. And the reason why I would say that they might stay the same length is, once you start to know things, you might have a little, say, analysis paralysis. And especially a game like Infinity, where, the game is so reactive that you're second guessing all your moves. Anytime you're going to put your, one of your pieces directly in front of danger, or you're going to try to attack someone, the odds, for the most part, somebody is going to be able to attack you back. And so, I can see a lot of second guessing going on there, if that's going on. So anyway, back to Relic Knights. We played our full game of Relic Knights, 50-point game, and it was a really good game. It was a really intense game, and just to give you guys an example, and this is kind of where I'm going to praise some Relic Knights here, is the really good games of Relic Knights that I've had recently have all been decided by, one, maybe two activations. It's always come down to a critical decision point, and this is what really, really gets me hyped about RK. Okay, so for example, there was a point in the game where we were playing a 6, and I had 5 points from pulling off my secondary objective and getting lap time. And I was working on getting secure perimeter, which was my primary scenario. That would have netted me another 5 points, and I would have won, in a 10-point game. But the interesting thing about Relic Knights is Gareth was smart enough to chase me off my primary scenario, and while simultaneously finishing the wild card scenario, he finished the Radiant scenario, netting him 3. And then, towards the end there, it got to be a tug of war, and there was a critical point for him to decide, hey, either I try to score a point here by killing a unit, or I push on towards the larger goal of trying to score 6, or trying to score 3 at one time. And so Gareth made a decision which turned out to be that actually turned out to slow him down a little bit. And I think it was that decision combined with me being able to pull off an off-the-fly heal on Renfera, one of the models, that actually won me the game. This stuff might not make sense to anybody who doesn't play Relic Knights, but I'll put it to you this way. The decision points in Relic Knights are mainly focused around resource management. Okay, so Relic Knights, what's interesting about Relic Knights is it is the least combat focused skirmish game that I've played to date. Of all the skirmish games I've played, Relic Knights overall is the least overall killing focused game. That's not to say that you can't play that playstyle. It's more to say that there are so many other playstyles in addition to that one playstyle. And that's one of the things that sets Relic Knights apart for me, is that killing isn't necessarily a heavy focus of the game. A lot of these other games, a lot of the really big popular games are skirmish war games, right? I mean, yes, there are scenarios involved. Yes, there are other things that you want to try to accomplish. But a lot of the big meat of these games, whether it be, say, Warmahordes or Infinity or GW games, is killing models, removing models from the table. And in Relic Knights, while you can do that, that's not always the best course of action. In fact, it may not be a very common course of action to follow, because killing things in Relic Knights is very resource intensive, and you're going to want to keep your resources really to focus in on your scenario. It's one of the most scenario focused games out there, and it's what I love about the game is it really makes you look different. Look at the potential for skirmish miniature games very differently. Okay, so anyway, but that said, let me back up and talk a little bit about these games, what they have in common. So what they have in common right now are, well, they're both miniature skirmish games. They're both fairly cheap startup costs, especially with the Operation Ice Storm coming out for Infinity. That came out for Infinity. That's a great buy. I mean, I am really considering picking that up. They both have downloadable rules online for free, which is a great service to the customers, and it allows prospective people to be able to take a look at the rules and how the game is played without having invested any money in it. They're both sci-fi with at least some sort of anime styling or theme to them. This is going to be significantly less so in the case of Infinity, whereas Relic Knights is basically a direct anime tribute. Infinity has some anime-inspired looking art, and you can see some of the references, like some of the Ghost in the Shell looking stuff for Aleph, for example. But it's not as focused as Relic Knights is for an anime theme, or Anima Tactics, for example, has a much more direct anime theme, anime influence than Infinity. But they both kind of follow that art. They're both sci-fi. Relic Knights uses a card-based system. It's a completely diceless system. That's another one of the things that sets it apart. Whereas Infinity has uses a D20 system with a very unique mechanic called the face-up roll, which is a really interesting thing because it's not an automatic roll high and you did well, or roll low and you did well. It really depends on comparative skills, on modifiers, and then it is affected directly by your opponent's rolls. In other words, your opponent can nullify some of your rolls with his own rolls. And it's a very unique, interesting mechanic from Infinity. For Relic Knights, it's a very, very different system in that you have cards. You have a hand of cards, and you're collecting Esper. You're building your hand of cards around the colors of Esper that you need. You're storing up held Esper for models to perform attacks, to perform defenses, to perform support actions. So it's instead of it being a statistics-based number generation system, those cards really are a resource for you to try to manipulate in your favor during the game. Now, there are some inherited strengths and advantages to each. For example, obviously, a card-based system, especially when you can hold Esper in hand, especially when you can boost your Esper and you can discard, it's a lot less luck-based, right? You can be crafting the proper hand that you need at all times in a game of Relic Knights. That's not saying that you just have bad draws, because you will have bad draws, but you can start to alleviate bad draws. You can start to address some of that stuff by cycling your hand. And so there's some things that you can do in order to affect that. So that's a plus to the card system. Now, here's a plus to the dice-based system that I think needs to be considered here. Now, a lot of people just outright will dismiss dice. They'll say, well, it's a dice system, so it's entirely luck-based. Or they'll say, I like D10s as opposed to D6s, or I like D20s as opposed to D10s. And they don't really go into the reasoning behind why they like one particular type of dice or whatever. So I wanted to just talk about that for a minute. Okay, so Infinity uses a D20 system, and D20s has obviously the highest spread of numbers for a commonly used dice on tabletop games. I'm not talking about the weird free blades D24s, or and obviously some games use straight percentiles. They use D100s or whatever. But D20 for a tabletop skirmish game, that's about as high as most of these are going to go. So I guess that would be Infinity and Warzone, right? And Dead Man's Hand. I can't leave out my obscure Western game that I like too. Now, when you look at a D20, you're going to say, okay, well, that's a high amount of variability. That's a high amount of unpredictability. And that's only true if you're considering a D20 as a straight up random number generator. And in Infinity, it doesn't really work that way. In Infinity, it's there's modifiers to take into effect. There are There are face-to-face rolls which set a target range of numbers that lower depending on the comparative statistics that each player is using. So there is some manipulation to that. There is a means of affecting your die roll. That said, I am going to just a slight criticism here, and I am going to say that the source of that means is statistics. It's list-based, okay? And I'm just going to come clean and say, hey, right now, list-based games are cool and they're popular, and I understand why they're popular. But we're talking my opinion here, and I don't necessarily see that as a plus. You know, one of the things about Infinity that makes it more like other standard war games out there and skirmish games out there is that it is statistic dependent. You do want to take high quality troops and statistics in the right areas. You do want to look at cost efficiency. You have quote unquote cheerleaders. If your cheerleaders are decently armed and have the kind of stats that you need to carry out your attack plan. Now, I'm not knocking this particular approach to gaming. I'm recognizing that it's a very popular thing and a very desirable thing that people like to do is they like to look at those statistics in depth, and they try to build for efficiencies there, right? You want to have cost efficiencies. You don't want to have basically dead weight on your list. Cheerleaders, you want to be fairly cost effective, and that's cool and all. But from a 30,000 foot point of view, it does make Infinity a little bit more of a list intensive game than say Relic Knights, because Relic Knights has so many moving parts. It has it's not, you don't just put together an optimum list. You have to be able to manage the activations well. You have to be able to be efficient with what you have, and your model build has to line up with your hand build strategy, and you have to be able to take advantage of times when you're going to be short of your primary Esper. So in other words, what I'm saying is, and I could be wrong here, this is just my opinion, what I'm saying here is I would say between the two games, Relic Knights will allow a player with a weaker on paper list to whereas that might be more difficult to pull off on Infinity on a regular basis. That said, let's talk about dice here for a second while we're talking about dice. Now, like I said, you can affect the ranges of those dice, but there is a crit system, which is also quite fun as well. And the thing about dice, which is cool, is that it's a random number generator, and people look at that on paper and think that it's terrible, but it's a random number generator. So that is at the same time one of the best and worst things for your miniature top game. It may not be this exactly precise thing that you can craft or control, but from a completely fun standpoint, it is rather exciting when both players do not know the outcome of a particular engagement. Okay, so what I'm saying is, and when I'm saying for like Relic Knights, okay, there's one player who's holding cards, and there's another player who's attempting to do something to that player, not knowing if that player can respond. Okay, and that's cool, and it's controlled, and there can be some very exciting moments there. But when two players are staring down, and two or more players, I should say, are staring down and say, the guy needs one guy's rolling 3 dice for his full burst, and he only needs 15s, and the other guy's rolling 1 die, and he needs a 6. and the one player rolls 18, 19, 20, and then the ARO guy rolls a 6 on the nose. It's pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting when I'm not saying it's it's morally, or is it? Can I even use the word morally? I'm not saying it's just in a karmic sense. I'm saying it's entertaining. It's fun. When stupid crap like that happens, somebody makes, and this has already happened to me like 2 or 3 times for Infinity, is I make a stupid decision, and I know Jose's watching, so this is funny. I make stupid decisions, and Jose makes good decisions. Jose rolls that 18, 19, 20, and I roll the 6. And it's entertaining. I'm sorry. I mean, it's not rewarding the player who's making the smarter decision, who has the better equipment, who put his list together with a little more thought and a little more care. But it's entertaining, and there's something to be said about that. A card system gives you the opposite benefit. It's not 2 people that are excited about playing a card flip. It's more about, one guy trying to figure out what the other guy has, if he's ready, priming the guy for your attack by making him buy a guard or a redirect that he doesn't want to do. So I guess what I'm saying is, pluses and minuses. Both of these systems they're very different, and there's a way that, each one of them can benefit you depending on your mood. For pure combat games, for combat heavy games, it is good to use some sort of random number generation, and it doesn't have to be dice. Like, for example, Malifaux, your opening attack flip was always just a flip off the top of the deck. It's a little bit more controlled than dice, obviously, but it's still starting off with a somewhat random number. And for combat heavy games, you want that. For a game like Relic Knights, where there are so many pedals to push, there are so many buttons and so many switches that you are trying to pay attention to, that the card-based system works incredibly well, because you're still dealing with unknowns, but you're dealing with more likely unknowns, if that makes any sense to you. Anyway, let me read a few comments here. I see Arcade more as a big eye, small mouth anime, and Infinity is, like you said, a Ghost in the Shell alternate future style. Yeah, good point, Daniel. I agree. The Infinity theme and artwork is probably a little bit more cohesive across factions. They stay with that theme. Relic Knights, they and I think they purposely do. I think they purposely changed their theme a bit. It's also a little more cartoony, maybe a little bit more playful, I would say, for Relic Knights. This is definitely, you could say it's definitely a little more fan service in terms of its anime, but that's something that you love or hate about Relic Knights. I don't see too many people neutral or on the fence there. And now this is just my personal vote here. Regarding art, theme, and sculpts, I personally like the Relic Knights art and theme. I like that kind of poppy, bubblegummy type of anime that has spread across, you've got almost medieval looking shattered sword, and then you have paramilitary black diamond, and then you've got fan service Cersei and Doctrine, and then you've got I like that I like that theme better than the Infinity, kind of Ghost in the Shell. As much as I love Ghost in the Shell and I love that sci-fi theme, I like the broader, more playful anime theme. When it comes to miniatures, that's where I'm going to have to give it to Corvus Belli. You have to. Against Relic Knights. Now, Relic Knights they make cool miniatures. They're cool. They have cool themes to them. Some of their big models are fantastic. Their night models are freaking amazing. But they're not going to compare to the intricacy of detail and the quality of a Corvus Belli metal miniature. They're just not. And I say this as a ninja, as somebody that volunteers for Ninja Division. Metal, I love metal miniatures. This is part of the reason why I love Cypher so much, and I will continue to just play Cypher because metal miniatures are it for me. It's a personal preference. I love metal miniatures. I'm always going to love metal miniatures. I think resin miniatures are cool. Like here's a rider for Arena Rex here. This is, oh, man, I forget the names, but you know, really cool. And you guys have seen some of the Arena Rex stuff that I've been painting. Those are really awesome too. But you know, Soda Pop uses the they use this, you know, kind of soft rustic stuff that Privateer Press uses. Now it's cool. You know, if I look at this SDE model, and it's cool. It's a good material. It's easier. It's somewhat easy to work with. But you know, cleanup. You've got lots of flash. You've got keyed pieces, which are awesome. But sometimes you've got to clean up the keyed pieces to make them work. So I'm just gonna say metal miniature model quality. I'm gonna give it to Corvus Belli. I'm gonna give it to them, and say, but still say that I like the art and theme better for Relic Knights. If we talk about fluff, I really can't compare them because they're different. When I read Corvus Belli fluff, it's more about theme, it's more about setting, which is awesome, and they build such a convincing world. It's 175 years in the future, and things are culturally relevant, and I love that about Infinity. So the fluff comes from two different places. You've got that coming from Corvus Belli, coming from Infinity, which is awesome. And that's part of the reason why so many people locally want to play, because, like, you know, Jose got me to play by saying, hey, there's a Filipino build. So I'm in. You know, I'm going to play Filipinos because that's awesome. Conversely, Relic Knights and Relic Knights fluff is heavy character based. It's all told from perspective of different characters in the game. And if you love following character-based fluff and you love character-based games, for example, Malifaux is a character-based game, Anima Tactics is a character-based game, I think you're going to like Relic Knights fluff. So I'm going to just set it as a tie because they're two different. They come from two totally different places, and they end up with different results. But I can appreciate both. All right, so for those just joining, thanks for tuning in to Play It Painted Live. Let us know what you're painting, what you should be painting. If you want to send me some live comments, you can send them to me on Twitter at Play It Painted. All right, Lord Akanum, have you ever checked out the Batman miniature game from Night Models? That's what I'm working on, as well as Ice Storm box set from Infinity. Dude, I think those Night Models are so good. I'm really, and Mark, one of our local guys, Mark here, got a few people to play the Batman miniatures game. I am interested in that game because the Night Models are fantastic. A little more difficult to come by, obviously, because they're over in Spain, and we don't have any local retailers at this point carrying Night. I know that you can get the Batman rules online, which is awesome. So for sure, I'm keeping it on the radar. I just look at those miniatures and drool. I think they're fantastic. Great comment. Thanks for giving us that. Let's see. Troy Price says, I love them both. Relic Knights is silly and fun, uses cards, and has unique things for a skirmish game. Infinity uses D20s, which are fun to roll and make for some crazy random fun. So you just expect the next hour of this program better than I could have. But yeah, from a mechanic standpoint, I completely agree. Don't want to oh, okay. So that was your previous comment. I think Jose is sending me some list stuff here on chat. So, man. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, but you know, it's preferences again. One of the things that I really, and I was saying this last week on the show, one of the things that I really kind of prefer from Relic Knights is that I can put together a list very quickly because, you know, I just flip through my cards, which is another thing I really like about Relic Knights, and I like when skirmish games do model rules on cards. You know, I guess War Machine was one of the first big players to do it. And it's just such a convenient thing to have the rules and statistics for a model on a card. Relic Knights takes it a step further and says, well, you take that card and you move that card around on your battle mat to determine your activation queue. And I think that's really cool. So you've got that going, so, and that's one in the column there for Relic Knights. Now, the downside to that is there isn't a terrible amount of customization to be had. And I know that a lot of players really like customization. And customization, again, is going to play out better for a skirmish level combat game like Infinity. Okay, so Infinity at its heart, the first time I played it, to me it was like, wow, this is kind of like playing paintball, because you're running around, you're ducking around corners, you're dodging, you're shooting back, and that's really cool. And Infinity, more than any other game in the market right now, really captures that whole firefight aspect so well. And I think that's one of the addictive parts of the game is I'm going to duck around this corner, I'm going to shoot at that dude, he's going to shoot back, he's going to pop camo, and he's going to come out, he's going to drop troop down, and we're all shooting at each other the whole time. That's super fun. And part of that system is part of manipulating that system in your favor is really equipping your soldiers well and picking the right soldiers for the job. So customization for Infinity, a little bit more important, because you want to have a good weapons loadout. You want to spend your special weapon points wisely on your list. And so customization is a big deal, and spending time to put together the right list is also a big deal for Infinity. There's clearly an advantage for that type of game. And for Relic Knights, it's different. For Relic Knights, it's cool to have some customization, but there's not a whole lot there. It's a character focus. It's a character driven game. You're going to want to put your cadre together, and you absolutely want your cadre to be working together. You want them to be compatible in terms of how you craft your Esper deck, your hand, and there's stuff like that. But it's not the same thing with regards to your cadre building, your list building. It's just not the same thing. For Relic Knights, you can put together a fun, spirited group of models, and you can play them one of a few different ways on the battlefield according to your scenario, and play a list that somebody thinks is terrible. You're going to play that list, and on the battlefield, it might be the scariest thing anyone's ever run into. So I don't know. They're two different things. Each approach works great for each system. I will say that, having come from Relic Knights, I will say that I immediately missed the lack of cards for the units and stuff, and having to identify stuff from a list, a model from a list, and I don't know what's what. That takes some getting used to. For example, Jose has to tell me which model is my Bagmari, which one's the Akal, which one, that kind of thing. Which one are Thorakites? Who's the Agema sniper? Because, as a complete outsider walking in, I don't know. I don't have any art to show. I don't have a card or something to show me directly, oh, this is the model that we're referring to directly. So, that was from 40K, that's how it was. And from Infinity, that's, you're going to get your list from online or from the source book or whatever, as opposed to, getting cards with your miniatures. But, Infinity is cool in that you've got the advantage to a list building system is that you can build your list online. We've got the Army Builder online for Infinity, which works really well. And you print out your list. And now the reason why this is an advantage for Infinity is because this is one of those games where your opponent, it's not open source information. Your opponent does not know everything on your list. And that the opposite is true for Relic Knights. Not only does your opponent know exactly what you've taken, the opponent can sit there and actually watch the order in which you set up the models to activate. And that's a key bit of strategy to play within that system. So once again, we're at another point where I'm saying, okay, both of these games take opposite approaches to something, but it works for that game. It works for how that system is intended to be played. So anyway, I'm not trying to be political about this, really. I'm just saying that that the divergence there, the divergence in philosophy or approach, really does suit each system very well. I've been talking so much and doing so little painting, but you know what? I don't care. Kujaku Hime, she's such a cool model. Damn it, just love it. So much character in this. I'm gonna load some comments real quick. Play it painted live. Let us know what you're painting, what you should be painting, or just send me a comment on Twitter. Let me know what's going on. Let's see. Any other comments? No. But this goes back to what I was saying earlier in the show about, being in the middle of that Relic Knights game where you're at a fork in the road, and it's not just two paths. Relic Knights has so many different ways for which to score victory points. For example, we flipped the Radiant scenario, and Gareth had been scoring easily off of that, parking his knight on an objective and just scoring that way, because he looked at his list and he looked at my list and gave up on the primary scenario. So he had a really good strategy. Give up the primary. He's going to score on the wild card scenario. He's going to prevent me from getting my primary because we both had secure perimeter. And he's going to try to whittle me down. And it was a good strategy, and it was working pretty well. The only thing that happened literally was two things. I think he mismanaged one activation, and I think I kind of pulled out. I pulled out this idea of throwing a heal at Renfera at a critical point in the game that really saved her, because the way it worked was he had assassination, and I picked Renfera, and he had gotten her down to 2 health, and I scrambled with my creation initiates to heal her back up, and turns out she's also a creation initiate. And it's just that type of on-the-fly thinking that is going to set you apart in Relics. The way I explain it to people is you're trying to commit a crime. When you're playing Relic Knights, you're trying to commit a crime, and and the crime is completely out in the open, and you're trying to commit that crime before your opponent can commit their crime. So you're trying to foil their crime too. This is not about removing miniatures. This is about removing those in the way and standing in the way of another player. So attacks that do disrupts, that do knockbacks, attacks that that can push or pull or compel take on so much meaning in Relic Knights. If you can block line of sight from the knight to the cipher before the knight activates, it's a big deal. It's a huge thing. And so the mindset that it engages is so highly tactical, so highly improvisational, that it's a benefit to the game, with the huge disclaimer that you really, really have to sink your teeth into the game to get at that point. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about one of my criticisms of Relic Knights. And again, take this with a grain of salt. I am a ninja. I do, as part of what I do is try to teach people this game. I feel that Relic Knights can be a difficult game to grasp. It's difficult to grasp the concepts of Relic Knights if you are beholden to classic wargaming mentalities. Okay, if you're a list builder, that skill is somewhat useful for Relic Knights. It's not as useful if you are an elimination player. If you are looking to, I'm just going to keep grinding people into the ground until they don't have any models. It might be viable in certain builds, but it might not be viable if your opponent draws certain scenarios that allow him to just sit there and take all the damage that you can dish out and score before you can. And that's a big deal. So So yeah, that's part of the reason why I think that Relic Knights is just such a unique game. I really, my issue though is that those initial steps, man, they're tentative. They're tentative. When you get people starting to play the game, and I'll tell you a story here about like my first encounter with the Relic Knights rules. It was not pretty. I'll tell you straight up. I was at Gen Con 2012. I was heavy into Malifaux at the time. But the one thing I wanted to do when I was not at the Malifaux events table, hosting events there and demos and all that, the one thing I wanted to do is I wanted to play some Relic Knights. I'd fallen in love with the game because of its theme and the miniatures and the artwork. I've just fallen in love with the idea of Relic Knights back in 2012. And it was like a Sunday or something for Gen Con, and I, dragged my wife out on the floor. She's such a champ. Dragged her out on the floor, and she was in her cosplay and all that and running around looking cute. And I made it a point to stop at the Soda Pop booth and get in my demo of Relic Knights. So my demo of Relic Knights was as follows. There was a kid there who had basically the Shattered Sword starter and the No Empire starter, minus knights, no knights, on the board, on a little 2x2 board. He told me not to bother moving any of the miniatures because everything was in melee or whatever. And the course of the demo, which was like a 15-minute demo, so I don't really blame him that much, but the course of the demo was really just to teach me the combat duel sequence, right? You pay for the attack that you want out of your hand, then you draw these cards according to this number, and the defender draws these cards according to that number. Then you buy your presses, and then your opponent can respond with a guard. And at the time, everything on the board had a guard or had something else, and you're discarding down to 5 or discarding at the end of each activation. So literally all we did was collect colors and throw them at each other for the demo for Relic Knights. And knowing what I know now about the game, what a sad wow. Okay. I need to know if I'm back or not. Let's try it. Let's reload here. Yeah, sorry for... Okay, should be back. Oh, well, it's dead air right now. If one of you guys will shoot me a message, let me know if I'm back on air or not. Man, I just went off on a total tirade, too. It was crazy. Oh, look, some more comments. I love the fluff on both. I've got 3 factions for Arcade and around 800 points for my Ariadna. Wow. That's some dedication, man. We got to play some Infinity. Anyway, I'll welcome myself back to the show here. Sorry about that disconnect. But what I was actually on, the rant that I was on when I got disconnected and had not known, was that when you're for Relic Knights, the initial demo that I got at Gen Con was just disappointing because it was just the combat sequence. And with the amount of things that you are supposed to manipulate or understand, what I know about Relic Knights today, it's like, wow, that really could have turned me off to the game forever. I turned around and I was like, came home and told everyone, oh, don't bother playing Relic Knights. It's just Uno. What a shame that is, because I would not, and I didn't back the Kickstarter, which was also crappy. But, things worked out in the end. I ended up getting all the Relic Knights I wanted and then some, as you guys might know. But yeah, what a bad first step into the game. And I don't blame them for doing it that way at that time, though. I mean, the game wasn't out. They had the core mechanics down. They were probably working on some other rules at the time, even though it looked like it was, it's not too far from where it is today, at least that part of the game. But it just wasn't a good. It wasn't a good handshake. It wasn't a good initial look at that game, and it did not leave a good first impression with me. So Relic Knights is a fantastic game. It can be very, very difficult to get people on board, though. I know with some certainty that at least 25 to 40% of my friends that I showed the game to initially just flat out didn't get it. Didn't see, okay, what's the big deal? I can manipulate this. I draw cards, you draw cards, we throw them at each other, I move this way. I can't kill your guy. Why does he keep armoring? He redirected it. Who cares? He's walking around and throwing tokens on these objectives. This game is not fun. What's going on? Some of those early games will feel like that. Especially like the first time you run into say like Suspect 7, you go, wow, that is broken, that's garbage. And that happened the other day, with one of the guys that we game with. It was like he was running Suspect 7. I was like, check it out, you can do this with Suspect 7. And he's like, wow, that is really, really, really broken. And I said, yeah, it is. It kind of is. But when you start to see some of the other really, really, really quote unquote broken stuff you can do in Relic Knights, you won't. I don't think you'll quite be that alarmed by this anymore. You just accept it. Okay, this guy's running Suspect 7. Here's how you can counter Suspect 7. Here's what I'm taking, which I feel is also super, super powerful, and I hope he can counter that. So anyway, Relic Knights is awesome. The initial opening, though, the intro to the game can be very difficult depending on who your audience is, who your target person is. Infinity is at its core a simple combat mechanic, which is, quite frankly, very fun, right? Like I was saying, it felt like paintball first time you tried it. I'm shooting at him, he's shooting back at me. How cool! And I roll this dice, he rolls this dice. We compare numbers, and this is what happens. It's all very intuitive to the standard wargaming mentality. I want to take models. I want to take his models off the board. He has guns. I have guns. He has these kinds of guns. I have these kinds of guns. He has this kind of armor. I have this kind of armor. All of this stuff to veteran gamers makes sense, and it's part of the appeal. I can put this armor with this gun. I can give this guy this upgrade. He can drop troop in. I can manipulate my list this way and this way. That's all really intuitive for people from wargaming. And in fact, if you just took like 3 of your basic troops for 2 different factions and threw down with say a non-gamer, chances are the non-gamer is just going to get that immediately. And whereas Relic Knights, it's if the guy doesn't game, he's like, whoa, you just completely exploded my brain. And again, I'm saying this out of love. It's what I love about Relic Knights, though, is that it's just such a meaty, such a deep game. But man, that learning curve can be really something to deal with. Whereas Infinity, you can get a guy, you can throw a bunch of models at a guy and get him up and at least shooting at people very, very quickly. So take that comment for what it's worth. But I do feel that, ease of entry on the rules wise is going to go to Infinity. The cost of entry and the convenience, if you look at a Relic Knights starter box, a faction starter box, which is one of the great things in wargaming today as far as I'm concerned. Miniatures, cards, tokens, battle mat, mini rulebook. That is for $50. That is really, really hard to beat. And then you look at Operation Ice Storm, though, man, you've got a very tough argument there. 120-ish, I think, retail, but 2 factions ready to go at somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 to 200 points each. terrain rule. You get the you don't get a rule book, but you get like a scenario, kind of a quick start type rule set there. You get dice, you get your templates. Also a really good buy. So it's I don't know, as far as cost of entry and that point of entry. Now I'm gonna maybe upset a couple people and say I'm gonna give the very slight edge to Relic Knights, and the reason why I would do that is because it's 50 points per player, and you can do that across different factions. Whereas Ice Storm, Ice Storm is a great, fantastic 2-player starter, but if you don't want to play Nomads or Pano, you have to buy an existing starter box, which does not have all those extras that the Relic Knight starter has. I'm just going to do a little makeup here. There's no way I'm finishing this model by 11, but it's because this is a meaty topic to discuss here. So I'm doing lots of talking, not as much painting. A little makeup on Kujaku. I'm going to give her a little eyeliner. Eyeshadow, I should say. She is like a geisha type girl, so I guess she would have eyeshadow. So lots to discuss here between these two. But I will say this. Like I said at the start of the program, I do feel that because of the way these two games approach their sci-fi mechanic and theme-wise, there's room for both of these games in your main gaming bag. And I think you can play both of these games in a single evening. Once you get to know both games, you can have multiple experiences. Like you can play each one of these games at an hour each. By the time somebody's just wrapping up a standard Warm Hordes game, by the time you can finish 3 of these games, any combination, 2 Relic Knights, 2 Infinity, 2 Infinity, 2 Relic Knights. You can finish 3 of these games in this space. Somebody will finish a typical GW encounter. And you can do that, and you can buy both of these games for the cost of less than one of those armies for one of those larger games. You can play these games on 4x4, 3x3 tables. Both games, well, I will give an advantage for Relic Knights in terms of its multiplayer scalability. I still feel Relic Knights is like the best multiplayer skirmish system that will just seamlessly go to multiplayer. You can do it for Infinity. We played a team battle yesterday. That was super fun. But, I didn't feel that it was quite as seamless as the Relic Knights jump. So I'm going to give Relic Knights the nod there. But yeah, I mean, in terms of value, I look at stuff like not just cost per miniature, because people pull that shit all the time. Oh, the Anima Tactics is an expensive game because it costs more per miniature. Bullshit. You can play a game of Anima Tactics with 2 miniatures. That's the part that you're leaving out. Okay, I spent $25 to buy 2 miniatures, but guess what? I'm playing a game, so that's still phenomenally cheaper. Okay. Some people make the argument that, you spend the same on X or Relic Knights or whatever that you do on 40K because you spend the same amount of money. That's blatantly overlooking the idea that you might be into 5, 6 different games, whereas your 140K army is going to give you 1 army, 1 experience, right? I can buy, for the cost of a 40K army, I can buy 300 points of Anima Tactics. I can buy 200 points of Eldorado. And I can probably buy either 200 points of Infinity or even 50 points of Relic Knights. I can do 3 systems easily within the cost of a single GW army. I can even play those 3 games within the space of time that it would take to play a GW game, and I can do it at half the table size. So, cost analysis is not just money. It's time, it's experience. Like when we play on Tuesdays, we have 4 hours from 6 p.m. on. I try to get there a little earlier, but it's usually about 4 hours, right? We can get 3 to 4 games easily and still have time to run around the shop and shop and bullshit. And man, part of the things that the Infinity, part of us picking up Infinity is just the sheer amount of window shopping we do, because we play a game of Infinity and we walk over to the massive stock of Infinity and just drool at shit, and then come back and play another game. But it's something to be said about these games that you can fit them both side by side. You can play them both, and one game is going to give you heavy tactical experience. Is going to give you a tactical firefight experience. The other game is just going to give you this weird combination of resource management, hijinks, and foil that is it's just completely unique in the miniature skirmish game arena today. So yeah, I mean, they're both really good games. I guess that's all I'm really trying to say. They're both really good games. They're both worth your time and attention, and you can play them and they can coexist. That said, these games will appeal to different people. They will be, if you're one of those guys that can enjoy both games for what they are, great. Realize though that you're going to play Infinity with some guys that may not like the campy, cartoony nature of arcade, and the fact that you can play a 45-minute game and not a single model will die, and the game can be decided still without having to remove a single model. Some people won't like that. Other people that might play arcade with you may not want to move to Infinity, and it's heavy emphasis on building a good list, on playing to that combat role, on playing a more of a true war game style, as opposed to Relic Knights. So just bear that in mind. It's neither game are going to please everybody. It's cool, like when you have a situation where you've got people that can enjoy both systems and play both systems equally. But yeah, these games do appeal differently to different players. One of the things that I did leave out too, which is kind of cool, and that one of the things that I really appreciate about both of these games, is that there's some great carryover terrain-wise. Both games are terrain intense games, and I love that. I love terrain-heavy games. I think they look fantastic on the board. I don't like building terrain because I suck at it, but I will build terrain out of necessity. But what I would add here is that both games do handle terrain differently. Relic Knights takes a very somewhat generic approach to terrain. Like, classify the terrain, and you draw a window between the two models, and whatever classifications that crosses in that path, that's what type of cover and rules that you use. Whereas Infinity uses a lot of true line of sight, and you really, this is where your on the board skill kicks in, right? You really have to. Infinity is one of those games that really probably does it better than anything I've played. You really have to be able to utilize the terrain and the board to your advantage. And what's really cool about that is it takes away, any over-the-top advantage you might have for, say, winning the initiative roll. So that's really cool. That's a plus for Infinity. Relic Knights handles it with a hero-villain style setup, which I also really think is cool, because the villain isn't going to get to go first, but he gets to call so many of the shots during setup that I do feel that's also a very equitable setup in these two systems. So once again, they're both terrain heavy, but how they approach terrain is different. I'm going to say Infinity makes it a much more interactive thing. The downside to that being so interactive, though, silhouette templates and all, is that you can still there's still room to kind of finagle and try try to argue your way out of something. There's still people that are going to nitpick. There's even with the line of sight pointers, and we've all played 40K. We know people will see a line pointer and still try to argue something there. Oh, you're holding it wrong. Or you're not standing at the model's true perspective. Let me do that. And they come over and then they move the laser sight so that you don't have line of sight. So you still get stuff like that. It really doesn't matter. If you're playing a D-bag, you're playing a D-bag. I will say though that Infinity perhaps draws a more overtly competitive audience. So I'm not saying that, because there's lots of cool people that play Infinity, obviously, but it will also draw some real competitive types. And if you don't enjoy playing those competitive types, then you might want to just keep your Infinity experience to a smaller private group of say casual, for example. It's been my experience with Relic Knights in our very fledgling community, fledgling yet active community, that the people who stick with Relic Knights and who have been active, at least around here, have all been really cool, really laid back players and good players. I haven't had a game of Relic Knights where I walked off mad. I might have had some early games, and you probably will experience this if you're new to Relic Knights. You'll probably have some early games where you just leave the table and feel like something is horribly, horribly out of whack. So be prepared for that. But I haven't had like anyone really NPE me on Relic Knights. Even people that play NPE, you can just kind of, I don't know. It just doesn't hit as hard as some of these more competitive systems do when you run into a player that, I'm not saying they're bad people or anything like that. That's just their priority. They want to play heavy competitive set, and you might not be ready for that. That's all. It's more of a misunderstanding and between expectations there. So anyway, let me load some comments here, because I'm sure, hopefully I'm still online. Let's see. Agree on costs. Okay, thanks. Okay, so I hope you guys are starting to see some of the differences between these two games and the reason why I like both of the games. Now, for me personally, I will continue to play both games, and I will continue to be a ninja because I love growing that community. It's been my experience with gamers that growing Relic Knights is a little more challenging. It's not the most blatantly, hey, I want to play that game for everybody out there. They're attracted to heavy combat focus, and when you tell them, hey, no, it's not really about that, not all players are really going to be into that. The other thing I'd point out is that with the heavy anime theme and some of the more suggestive aspects of the game, that not everybody's going to be into that part either. So that's another thing to bear in mind there. Infinity, on the other hand, it's a combat game, and people that are regularly playing some of the other titles out there, the more common titles, are used to a combat game. So Infinity, you can probably go into a place where they're playing, say, Warma Hordes, or where they're playing GW, and be able to drum up a fair bit of interest, because they want to play combat games, but sometimes they want to play smaller scale, or sometimes they want to play a little more firefight style. Infinity is right up that alley. It's perfect for that kind of stuff. So I will just leave that at that. Wow, this model's really ornate. I'll just say that. Relic Knights I think, is going to get really interesting when you start seeing some crossover people that might be playing more of the card-based stuff, that might be playing more of the, I taught a couple of at Comic-Con how to play Relic Knights, and they'd never played a miniatures game before, but they played card games before, and they just kicked ass at arcade. They were awesome. They totally got the concepts. They totally understood it very early on, And that was really cool. Trying to figure out what's my complementary color here. If I'm going to go blue, I guess, I could probably go like a chocolate brown on the skirt, maybe? Sure. Why not? So once again, if you're just joining, welcome to Play It Painted Live. Let us know what you're painting, what you should be painting, or if you want, shoot me a message on Twitter and I'll respond to it, because we're trying to get a little bit more audience participation. And I really appreciate all of the comments that you guys have sent in so far. Really good discussion here. Let's see. Okay, here's a comment from Twitter, from X, at Excessive. Play It Painted, they need to update the N3 Army Builder. Part of the reason I'm not painting them tonight. Okay, did not know that. I know so little about Infinity that I'm, and also I should point out I'm playing Aleph and Shock Army, neither of which have updated N3 rules at this point, so that probably doesn't affect me, but hopefully we'll get some rules in. And man, I gotta say though, I'm just drooling over those new N3 sculpts. I really gotta paint something. I really gotta paint those generic Pano or they're just awesome looking. I love that. But yeah, that's just me, Okay, so I think, let's see. I think I'm going to do this sleeve, kind of a earth brown there, and then I'll do I'm going to do a few different colors on her, because why not? She's Kujaku Hime, right? That's what we should be. She should have a bunch of weird colors on her. Here's a comment from Jose. N3 Armory Builder update should be at the end of the month. Okay, cool. I'm just relaying information. I can't verify anything. Once again, you're talking to a complete Infinity noob here who's just happy to paint some models. But yeah, my background with Infinity is it's something that I picked up some models for, I want to say 2 years ago, and I painted them because I wanted to. I had no real intention of playing the game. And I'll tell you why. I'll be honest with you. At the time, when I was looking around at Infinity, every single game I saw of people playing it were just people arguing, pushing camo markers around. I'm like, this game has the beautiful miniatures. What are you doing? Like, I'm not seeing any of the miniatures on there. And so from a complete outsider, ignorant point of view, I was like, wow, this is bad. I don't think I ever want to get involved in the game itself, but I do really like those miniatures, so I'm going to paint some anyway. And that's kind of how I got started with Infinity. That's why I had an Infinity army ready to go. But it's also why I didn't try Infinity. So I guess that's another thing these two games have in common is I both initially had negative impressions of both games. It really wasn't until, started gaming locally with the guys here at CQ, and we all played Relic Knights, that I was like, hey, and Jose was like, yeah, I really like Infinity. I was like, okay, I promise to play one game with you. And I promised to play one game, and we played the one game, and I was like, well, I want to paint more. And, and obviously the one game was pretty fun. So, yeah, I want to play more Infinity, and I want to, the long-term issue is going to be, I love so many different skirmish games. Our little 4 hours once per week session here just might not be enough for me. And so we'll have to see where that goes. Any other comments here? So yeah, I just want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. Some really cool discussion, because I think that these games, I think that there will be groups that do end up playing both games. And I would also encourage, the one thing I learned from both of these games is you don't give up on a game too early, especially if your friends really like the games. Give them a shot, because you might have had some poor run-ins early on, but there's not a lot that you understand about a game when you first started anyway. So, give the game at least a few plays, and talk to somebody that's heavy into the game, and just let them get excited about it, and see them get excited, and pay attention to the parts that they really enjoy, because if you enjoy those things about games too, then chances are you will like the game. You just don't know it yet. So anyway, but yeah, they had me at Infinity had me at the promise of, yes, I will play this game with Jose, and also there are Filipinos that you can play. All right. So Kujaku Hime action here. I'm really fawning over this model. One of the things that's really cool about Relic Knights is their official rules allow you to use Ninja Division models as proxies in their official events. So if you like something from Anima Tactics, you can field it as a Relic Knights model, which is really awesome. So if I wanted to, I could field this as a Relic Knights model. And I do already have some ideas of like fielding some of my Empire guys for Anima, fielding them as Shattered Sword miniatures, because they're perfect for that, and they look fantastic. And I'll be honest with you, I don't like the Swordsworn miniatures. So this is right up that pursuit right there. So we're gonna go multicolored, geisha style on her. So yeah, that's also really cool. The Infinity miniatures are super high detail. I don't like the 25mm flat bases, and I'll show you. This is actually for a Saga miniature I'm building, actually, but this is the style base, like that GW style flat. I don't like those bases. They're just a little more annoying to base than these lipped 30mm round bases. I think they're fantastic. So yeah, we're gonna nitpick now because, like I said, I like both games, but just kind of highlighting some differences here. I'm just gonna paint a little purple here. So what do you guys think? I mean, are a couple of guys have commented that that they like and play both systems. Is there? I mean, we could throw Anima Tactics in there potentially, but Anima Tactics to me is a little more fantasy based. I mean, it technically is sci-fi anime. It's definitely anime, but it's to me it's more fantasy based, and so I don't know that I would. I don't think that there's going to be a lot of comparisons drawn between this game and Infinity, because this game uses a lot of magic. That's one thing Infinity doesn't really. I mean, other than hacker skills, which are not technically not magic, Infinity is a little more realistic combat based. You're not hurling spells at each other. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to finish this model, but that's okay. At this point, I'm really just painting what I enjoy. And I do have to do a Infinity commission here this week, but it's only 2 models. I'll probably have those done in one sitting. But yeah, this Anima model, I'm just gonna paint her. Maybe I do both sleeves, the purple. I'm kind of liking that. Or maybe I'm doing this wrong. Maybe I should do, well, I think the artwork has a a purple stocking. So maybe I should paint the stocking with a, I should paint a purple glaze as the stocking. And then I'll do some line work on it, make it look netted. How about that? I think it's a great idea. Let's do it. All right. So let's get some glaze medium. So I'm just going to take that same purple that I just put on, and I'm going to mix it with a glaze medium. And we're going to make a little purple glaze. Hopefully it's nice and transparent. I'm sure it will be, because I'm really not going to mix much purple in it at all, because we're trying to make a sheer pantyhose. Now normally when I used to do stockings and stuff, I would go black gray, and I would just layer the hell out of it and blend it until I got at deep skin tone. But in this case, I'm going to try to cheat and go the other way. I already have a flesh colored leg there. Let's see if I can get this to look like a stocking. Just got in and playing with anima as well. Nice. What are you painting for anima, Daniel? Let us know. Okay, so I'm going to apply the, wish I had, one disadvantage to my current camera setup is you can see it casts its own shadow there, so I'm going to kind of have to paint this way so you guys can see a little bit what's going on there. Ooh, okay. I think this is going to need to be a little bit darker in color. It's a little too sheer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 1 drop of my heavy skin tone into that glaze, just to give it a little more of a stocking type of appearance here. Is that stocking's a little pale. So we're gonna mix this in. This will be slightly more opaque. Ooh, I almost have too much of it in there now. Crud. More purple then. More purple. Back to purple. But purple in more glaze. Okay, try this again. You said I've never really tried doing a stocking this way, but the artwork has the stocking. It's like kind of a sheer purple stocking that's a netted one. Let's see how this works. And I'm just going to apply this in thin layers until I get at the final color that I want. Then I'm going to come back and put some stripe to it. Okay, that's better. It almost looks fully opaque, but I can actually stretch it thin so that you can still see some of the flesh tones underneath. So once again, welcome to Play It Painted Live. If you guys have any comments, you can send them on the YouTube feed, or you can send them on Google+, or you can try sending them to me on Twitter at Play It Painted. Okay, that's pretty cool looking. It looks, I think on camera, it looks fully opaque. I don't think you guys would be able to see the kind of semi-transparent look that I'm trying to get here. Very hard to convey on camera. So, but I will just say I think it's looking pretty cool so far. It does look like a stocking to me. That's cool. All right. I'm finishing up Marcosius. Got Brave last night and free-handed its back tattooed. Started Maria. Been avoiding her so I could practice on rogues and cloaks on other models because of her. Yeah, Maria is. I painted a Maria before for a commission, and it's such a fun model. I love the model. It can be argued though that she's a little strong in game. So that's one of the reasons why I don't have one currently, is because I didn't want her to be a crutch model. But at this point, I don't care. I love that model so much. I think I'm just gonna have to buy myself one and paint it. Yeah, when you get a chance, we really should play some Anima Tactics because it's a fun game. It's my main comment about Anima Tactics is I feel it needs a little bit of an update, rules wise, and especially David and I talked about this a couple times, updating the card format. But otherwise, pretty cool game. So, trying to decide here what this last color should be for Kujaku. I mean, it doesn't have to be 4 colors. Maybe it's another purple, or maybe it's blue. Maybe we should just do it blue again. Yeah. Let's do this other arm, kind of the blue there, and continue the blue across. Let's see. So I can field my Robotech army. Robotech in an arcade game, interesting. Technically, yes. Technically, as long as it matches a model and is identifiable to your opponent, you can technically do that. I believe Robotech is on 40 mil bases. So let's see. What are some of the 40 mil things in Relic Knights right now? Hell's Bells come to mind. Those are on 40s. There's some, I think some of the not the Berserker models, but some of the models are on 40s. Paragons. Oh, Paragons. Paragons are on 40s. And you could field a Destroid or something like that and just tell somebody, hey, it's a Paragon. Like if you painted a Destroid white, I think you could do that. Oh, I hear a baby crying. That might be my kid. I might have to end our feed here pretty soon and put him to bed. Poor guy. I do appreciate you guys tuning in tonight and joining us for this little conversation. I'm gonna, we're gonna try to get some more people on the show. Like I said, we don't have any regular panel or anything like that. But especially where you guys feel invested in a conversation, I think that it'd be cool to have you guys on and painting on camera. I think that'd be pretty awesome. If you don't have a camera, it's fine too. You could just hop on with your audio, and your little avatar pops up, and we can just talk. You can give your thoughts live over the interwebs here. It might seem a little silly, and it did to me at first, but I don't know. You get used to it. You get used to just kind of. And honestly, I wouldn't be doing this stuff if I didn't get some comments about, hey, you keep me painting stuff. That's a big part of why this show is still on, is because you guys have supported me and said, hey, you're helping me paint stuff, and that's, for me, that's enough reason to continue. So yeah, I think the kid is crying here. I'm going to load some comments, and if he's continuing, I think we'll we'll call it and pick up next week. But let's see. That kid doesn't sound like. That might be the neighbor's kid. Huh. That doesn't really sound like his cry. Okay. So no new comments on YouTube. Let me check Twitter here. But see, it's close enough to where. Here's another comment here. I think I missed this one. CQ is getting more and more crowded also. Yeah, you're right. With X-Wing there, the X-Wing group kind of growing. Infinity obviously kind of growing. But I think we're on a timetable with Infinity because Gareth is, I don't think he can do Tuesdays on a regular basis anymore. So we might shrink back down a little bit and play, get in games of Infinity and Arcade. But like if it's me and Jose and maybe a few other people, that should be pretty easy to manage to get in at least a game of each and manage that on a Tuesday night. So, like if it's me, you, and say Mark, we can easily do that. Okay, so I think the plan with her is, there's going to be a little bit more freehand than usual on this model. I'm gonna freehand. I'm gonna do some like floral patterns and stuff, and then I may do some striping. But I may not do that tonight. I might do it off camera. Who knows? We'll see. I'm gonna at least get some of the major color blocking down though. So like this detail with the shoulder here, this kind of like a foo creature or whatever, and then this across the torso. I think I will make that. I'm going to make this like Iraqi sand off-white color. Then the other one I'll make yellow ochre. Maybe I'll go heavy ochre. Heavy ochre is kind of, no, let's go yellow ochre. So I'll make that. I'll need Iraqi sand. As you can tell, if you're hearing me shuffle around the paints here, I will admit to not having the most optimal paint setup. I normally just kind of shuffle the colors around until I find the bottle that I need. It's because I just keep getting more paints and I add them together. There you go, Iraqi sand. Use the campaign rules for anima tactics found in the Cypher Studio message board. Yeah, I still haven't done that, and I know you've like pointed me there several times. I still have not done that. That would be very fun to do. I think Mark and I really like anima tactics. Phil Howard also really likes anima tactics, so we might be doing stuff like that at some point. And Jose will play anima tactics too, because why not? We've got models we can play. Right, Jose? Should be okay, right? We'll play that. All right, so anyway. So I'm going to go Iraqi sand across the torso here. I'm also going to base these feathers in Iraqi sand so that I can highlight them with an off-white. Yeah, Kujaku Hime. Cool looking model. That's all I gotta say about this model. Really cool looking. Getting some comments in. All right. Okay, let's look at the comments here real quick. I'm in for Anima. Yes. I should play some Anima. It's a fun game. And again, all the terrain we're using is compatible. That's like a big win for me. Because having, I've got Eldorado terrain available in the store. I normally carry some Eldorado on me. And Eldorado is another one of those terrain dependent. I wouldn't say it's terrain intensive, but it's terrain dependent because of terraforming and the types of events that you can get from Eldorado, which I think are fantastic. But yeah, it does for somebody like me that loves all of these games that have a little bit more emphasis on terrain. It can be a bit of a bear to carry all of it around. I'm going to paint in the. She has a fan here on her back. Paint that in. Yeah, so tonight we'll probably just do color blocking and be good with that. Sounds like the little guy or whoever was crying is asleep now. So I might be able to stay on for a little bit longer, do a little more painting with you guys. So that's it for our topic. But, if anyone wants to hop on or if they have anything to add, they want to hop on the feed, let me know. Shoot me a message. We can totally do that. I can't really guarantee for how much longer we'll be on, but as long as I'm painting here, I intend to be on. But yeah, overall, I thought it was. I'm excited about these two games. They're both very fun. RK is just gonna be one of my favorite games, just flat out, because I love the game. But Infinity, also really enjoying it. Fish tank terrain from the big box stores look good on game tables, already painted and cheap. Yeah, like Petco terrain. Phil Howard did something cool. He bought some Petco terrain and was using it for a number of games, including like Inner Majesty's Name and Ronin, and because it was like Asian theme, so it looked really great for those games. Anima Tactics is cool too, because this is one of those games where you can use any number of different types of terrain and it would still work for this particular game. She has this little feather collar. She has so many little intricate little details to her. Her little earrings. I'm telling you, I just love this model. It's easily one of my favorite models out of the whole Anima range. Also really like Sophia Ilmora, basically the librarian model. Love that model, both in terms of her rules and the model. Are phenomenal. And then, yeah, like I said, I'm building that little Sword Art Online. I may have to build a whole party for Sword Art Online. I may have to build Klein and some of the other characters from that show. Some of the other female characters like Lizbeth and what's the other one? Silica, I guess was her name. That would be pretty sick. If I can find the right analogs in the Anima range, I will totally do that because I think it's awesome. All right, so let's move on to Yellow Ochre. Still getting some comments here. I guess not. Okay. That's cool. We're just going to paint for a little bit because why not? If you guys haven't seen, I'm almost done with Arena Rex 2. I decided not to paint Arena Rex tonight, though, for a couple of reasons. So, for example, here's Leo. You can see I just done the airbrushing on Leo. It's kind of cheating the kind of blending you can do here to make that line look a little more realistic. And then here's, I think it's Seket, the scorpion. Kind of going with a brownish, like a sandy color on this scorpion. Not much left to do on him other than just painting some eyes and a little bit of detail there. And then the rider is Zara, which I showed you earlier. Now, the main reason why I'm not doing this is because I tend to do like the little lighting effects on the blade, highlighting effects on the blade with an airbrush, because it's just such a seamless transition. So I like to take advantage of doing that on the airbrush. Okay, so anyway, yellow ochre, which is, if you looked at all my models, at least 75% of every model I have has yellow ochre on it somewhere, believe it or not. It's just one of those crazy versatile colors that I use all the time. So yellow ochre from Vallejo Model Color. You can use it for so many different things. Right now, we're using it for Kujaku's ornate helmeted looking shoulder pad. It looks like her shoulder pad is like looks like a Japanese god or something. I want to say it looks like a door knocker, you know, because it's got the two little tassels off the end. Like you grab the tassels and you knock on some giant oak door with it. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's a knocker on her shoulder. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's cool looking. So I'm just going to block it out. I'm not really, the intent really isn't to paint it all in heavily detailed yet. So I'm going to paint in this part of the sheath for her sword. She has this giant, it's like a nodachi. And her rules are pretty gross. Mark fielded her against me the other week when we were playing, and yeah, her rules get really, really pretty strong. She's a tough character, especially with her boyfriend, Takanosuke, who I'm going to have to buy if I want to field this as a team. He's kind of cool looking too. He's like flying. But yeah, anyway, looking pretty good. Just going to block out this color. And are any other areas? Oh, her little earrings, obviously. Okay. Anything else? Bottom of this. Oh, the top of the hose has this metal like ring, circlet, I guess. I'll paint that in this yellow ochre color. Okay, pretty good. All right. So now let's move on to the hair. Now, I don't know if I'm going to do. I would consider painting her with a different hair color than the black that they have her in. Maybe I'll do like a midnight blue, or I can even do like a streak. I don't know. What do you think? Yeah, maybe if I did a streak and then just did the rest of it in a black gray, that might be kind of cool. So let's get. Now, I don't want to do just like a regular medium blue streak. I want to do kind of like a dark blue gray streak, not flat blue. This is kind of interesting, this Mediterranean blue. What if okay, So what if I did, then I'm going to change this. What if I did like a coal color? And then I highlighted with that kind of blue. Maybe. Well, okay. So let's go with a black gray. So black gray is going to come down. And then I'll assign kind of a weird highlight color to it. Once again, thanks for tuning in to Play It Painting Live. Let us know what you're painting, what you should be painting. If you have any comments or anything on tonight's topic, which was Infinity versus Relic Knights, or just anything, any kind of painting, miniature gaming stuff in general, there are 3. You can leave a comment. You can leave it on this YouTube feed, it on Google+, or you can follow me on Twitter at Play It Painted and leave me comments from there too. Okay, so you see Kajaku's hair is black, which is probably okay given the number of different colors already on this model. But keeping in the spirit of anime, I may want to highlight it differently. So it's still going to be black, but I'm probably going to drop a blue highlight or something on it. And yeah, normally at this time of night, I would have been finished with this model, but we went kind of slow. I rambled a bit about tonight's topic. So we're just kind of taking our time here. So I'm going to paint the sword now. Ooh. Need a bigger, sometimes you just need a bigger brush to do this kind of stuff. Winsor Newton Series 7 are back for sale in the US, which is fantastic. Super waiting for that. I've been babying all my Winsor Newtons, waiting for Winsor Newton to get reapproved for sale back in the US with the Series 7, specifically the Series 7, because that's a line that I think is phenomenal for miniature painting. And to me, in the way I paint, it does make a difference. And she has sandals. I wonder, well, I guess I could do the sandals this black as well. Even though it's not a black, I use black gray as black for most of my miniature painting. It just makes more sense that way. Looking pretty good so far. Let me pull her off frame here for a second. So just do a little bit of fine work. So yeah, I think I'm gonna paint in some stripes and some floral patterns and stuff on this model. Paint in sandals. There we go. And I'm going to paint the underside of this kind of, it's kind of a waist guard here that she's got. It's almost like a girdle. Just paint that in. All right, there we go. Paint a little more purple. So yeah, once again, welcome to Play It Painted Live. Let us know what you're painting, what you should be painting, and if you have any other comments. I mean, we're done with the topic for the evening, but if you have any comments about how you rate Relic Knights versus Infinity, or what experience you have with either system, or what interest you have with either system, they're all good comments. She's also neutral, so she can be used for any side. That's right. Are you talking about Kujaku, or are you talking about Sophia? Just out of curiosity. I know Sophia is, I believe she's neutral. You could use her for any side. She's just a great support model. One of the best support models I've seen. All right. Okay. So there's a major color blocking on the model. See if you can pick that up. Ooh. She actually, from the way the lighting is on the camera, she looks like I put clown makeup on her. Her makeup really isn't that big. I'll put some pics when she's done. It's really not. At least I hope not. I don't know. All right. Now I'm going to just pick out some of the light parts of the handle here. Okay. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. A comment about how I do the striping. I'm not very good at it, but one of the things that has helped me was if I could go super fast, it helps. So if I'm painting this way and I go like that, that's a pretty good pace for me. But yeah, I don't know. It's difficult. Oh, the one I'm painting. Okay, so Kujaku. Cool. All right. So I'm going to prepare a little more black here. And I'm going to paint in a little stocking. Vertical thick stripes are a little bit easier. But, we're painting this one for fun. So if I screw up, it's okay. It's not that big a deal. You just reglaze that stocking. But I'm going to mix up some black. Sorry about the camera shaking. Picking up the vibrations on the desk. Okay. So now it's time to do a little freehand. Okay, so I'm going to come all one direction. Don't force your brush if you're trying to lay a thin line and it's not dropping paint. Don't force it. Just roll with it. you can always come back and re-hit it. Not that big a deal. I'm going to do this off camera because it's really fine manipulation here. So I apologize for that, but just so you can see what I'm doing. I don't think you really want to see my hands shaking intensely as I'm trying to get these stripes down. It's not good television, guys. Yeah, the thing that worked for me for freehand is to go fast. I think if I go too slow, my hand starts to shake, I start to overthink what I'm doing, and it doesn't come out well. Whereas right now, this looks pretty good. This is a pretty busy model when it comes down to it. But man, so cool. Ooh, got a little too thick there, but that's okay. Okay, so let me show you guys real quick. Ooh. There you can see those stripes coming down. They look really opaque and heavy on camera. It's pretty thin lines I'm dropping here. It's really not that thick, but hey, it's cool. Okay, so now I'm going to do the crisscross. Now it should look more like a fishnet stocking. I know this isn't really exciting stuff here on the feed. So I apologize to you guys. I really do appreciate you watching, but I'll load comments here in a minute. I'm just going to get through this. This portion of the painting. Ooh, that was bad. That was bad. Yeah, I need to add a little bit more water to the black because it's starting to. It's when it starts to stick up, it starts to catch, and it'll catch your brush strokes and stuff, and it'll end up being not good. You can start to see it coming in. There we go. Okay, let's have a look here. I mean, the overall effect looks right. There we go. Okay, let me load comments here. Once again, welcome to Play It Painted Live. Let us know what you're painting, what you should be painting, or if you have any comments about tonight, you can comment on Google+, YouTube, or Twitter at Play It Painted. So we're into overtime right now. All right. Canvas says, "What's up, Octave?" What's up, Canvas? I have to get on this late so that you'll hop on, man. Dude. Anyway, yeah, painting. What do you do? Well, are you painting? Hope you're painting something. Okay, so there's that. And then this model also has like floral patterns to her too. I guess I could start to put some of that down. I don't know if I want to though. We'll see. Let's do one more color here before I go to bed. Well, a couple of things. Let's wash that yellow ochre. I tend to wash it with this Seraphim Sepia here. So we'll just put a wash down on the ochre, and then maybe I can do a little pattern on the brown skirt, I guess. Should I do the pattern on the brown skirt, or should I do it on the... Well, there's this big purple sleeve, or even the blue sleeve. I could do a different type of pattern on, maybe like a flower type pattern or something on it. Be kind of cool. You can see how this Seraphim Sepia just kind of picks out detail and just gives it a burnished look. That's what I like about it. You can just do that. It's the easiest thing in the world to do, and it will help you accentuate detail on the model. So, yeah, just a Seraphim Sepia wash and all this stuff. I should actually do a blue wash on this blue, but in fact, I should probably do that before I do any more freehand on this. Now, this is a fun model. She looks kind of ornately like almost Indian or Thai. You know how they do the like super heavy ornate jewelry and the fans and all that stuff. Freaking cool. That's all I gotta say. All right. Yeah, let's put some blue wash on the blue. Just to give it a little bit of a tint. Give us some shadow. I think I'm going to have to come back and highlight after I drop the wash in. I think it looks cool though. I do. I'm starting to rethink that pattern. Maybe I shouldn't put a pattern down. This model's looking pretty busy. What do you guys think? I still kind of want to. I don't know. Flip-flopping. Don't know. All right, let's let that wash dry for a minute. I'm going to load some comments. I guess I should put that Druki Violet. Yeah, I should. Let me put, while we're waiting on washes, let me do one more wash, which is Druki Violet on the other sleeve. There you go. Okay, so put her down here, and let's load comments and see what we got. Okay, and no other comments. I think that's pretty much that. What's this comment? That's not a comment. Wait. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Couple other things that, so she's actually almost done. I can come back and give this a little bit of a pick out some of those feathers in the off-white color. I can do that while the wash is drying. And then maybe even do a another freehand pattern. There we go. So I'm just gonna do that real quick. Some of the areas here on the model, pick out in the white. Okay. And even the hilt of the sword, you can pick out in the white. There we go. There. Okay. Not bad. Not bad at all. Little highlight here of electric blue back over the blue. You know, I'm so close to finishing it. Let's just finish it. Fuck it, right? Fuck it. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do a freehand, any more freehand, at least not at this point. Just going to do a little highlighting. And I'm going to do the couple quick additions to the basing, and there you go, Kujaku. Ready for action. I may actually try her out next week. Actually, I'll probably end up playing more Sinette and Drake if I can get Drake done over the weekend, which I probably will. As long as I don't have crazy interruptions. But you know how crazy interruptions happen. They're crazy. So there's not a whole lot to be done there. And in fact, I'm going to use a little bit of this electric blue, just ever so lightly. Highlight. Ooh, that's almost too light. Yeah, that is too light. Okay, sorry. A little bit of let's do Mediterranean blue then as a highlight on her hair. There we go. There. All right. Pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, so now the base is mostly done. I'm just going to put down some flowers, you know, make it look a little pretty. Do a little tuft of flowers, and I'm going to do, so let's do 2 tufts of flowers because she's special. 2 tufts of flowers, and maybe 1 little, if I have any green grass left, and a little bit of this drier grass, so I'll take it. And we'll put all of that on her base, and then she'll be done, basically. Just have to paint the black lip in. So I use just a little spot of glue. Just pop the tuft down. Not rocket science here, folks. This is the Army Painter flower stuff. You can see. And a little tuft of grass up front, because why not? If you're wondering when I painted the base, I actually just airbrushed the base after I primed the model. Just a little bit of like burnt umber and base gray from Vallejo Model Color. It really didn't do anything fancy at all, and it looks fine. I don't like that my little tuft of grass isn't standing up. That's bothering me. See if I can get one that's a little less directional. If I can get it to just splay out a little bit better, that would be ideal. Put a little more glue. And then I'll post a, ooh, that was bad. I'll post a little update on my Facebook page. All right. Whoa, careful. I'm actually going to stick the grass back here. Oh, that's not behaving. The grass is just not behaving. I don't know. Yeah. That sucks. Hold on. I can make this work. Let's see. There we go. Can make it work. Put that grass right there. And more flowers. Okay. There we go. Okay. So here we have it. There she is. What do you think? Okay, and final thing, just paint in the black around the lip, and we're done. In fact, I'm going to actually remove her from this base so that when the base is dry, I can snap a quick photo, and we're off, and we are done. And I can start putting all this paint away. I think if anyone's going to kill the team of Macbeth and Lillian in a couples team battle, probably be this model right here, because she ignores armor. Her attacks ignore armor, and she can cause poison. She can also get poisoned herself, but hey, that's beside the point. She has a boyfriend who's also decent fighter. I think he can stealth too. I think he's a prowler. I don't know. I could be wrong. Just do that. All right. So we'll let her dry. And I'm going to load comments one more time, guys. But I mean, that's pretty much it for this show. Let me... pretty cool show. Did a little bit of overtime here, and I'm sorry about the dead air at the end there while I was painting stockings. I don't think that was that entertaining, but anyway, want to thank everyone for watching. A comment. Oh wait, I better check Twitter one last time, because if we have more comments on Twitter, that would be interesting. Yeah, that's it. All right, that's it. I want to thank everyone for watching. Once again, I'll keep some updates on the channel as far as what I'm painting. Those are going to be fairly regular for a while here anyway. But yeah, that's going to be it for this show. I want to thank everyone for watching, and we will catch you on the next one.